Welcome to our first broadcast of Daily Chat with Dr. Melanie. I am so glad that you have joined me today. My goal is to provide encouragement, empowerment, and inspiration as we discuss topics that are relevant to our daily life and how the grief and losses that we encounter can affect every area of our lives. Over 50 million people in the United States are likely suffering from grief and loss at any one time. That is a staggering number, and wrongful thinking about grief can lead to unneeded suffering. Unresolved grief can manifest as fear, insecurity, overreacting to situations, sinking feelings, isolation, and many more attributes that we will discuss together as the days go by. So, what is the definition of grief and loss? Grief is the normal reaction to loss of any kind. Grief is a normal healing process. After all, life has been permanently changed when you suffer a loss, and it requires healing to walk through this new journey and move into a new sense of well-being. There are many misconceptions in society surrounding loss, so let's embark on a journey together each day to normalize the conversation and dialogue around these losses. Did you know that there are over 40 categories of grief? When I share that with people, they are often shocked, surprised, or amazed. Death of a spouse, family member, friend, or loved one is the common event associated with grief and loss. However, there are some possibly surprising situations that you haven't considered before now. So let's take a look at some specific life events that may create a sense of loss. Natural disasters could encompass an earthquake, a hurricane, a tornado. Those create possibly losses of life, homes, a way of life, maybe divorce or a loss of health, potentially poor or hurtful choices of our children's decisions, loss of a home due to foreclosure, loss of a family pet. That can affect the entire household, right? Financial losses, loss of a relationship or a broken relationship or friendship, a breakup of any kind, maybe being overlooked for a promotion and experiencing those feelings of rejection, imprisonment of a loved one, retirement could be good and bad, change of a career, or even the loss of a job. And there are many, many more that we will discover as we go through this journey together. But do any of these surprise you, or have you recognized yourself in one or maybe even several of those categories? While grief can be painful, there are steps we can take that will allow us to learn from our grief. Challenging times provide the possibility for growth. Grief can create gratitude. It sounds like a strange thought, right? You might not think you have everything to be grateful for, but grief happens when things are taken away from us. Society teaches us how to accumulate things, friends, relationships, money, power, and so on. However, what it does not teach us is what to do when we lose these things. Your grief can help you to appreciate what you had as well as what you still have. It is easy to take people, relationships, and things for granted. Loss is a tough way to face the opportunities to identify what we are grateful for. Grief can help us engage with our lives. It can be very easy to float along without really committing to anything. And tragedy can be a wake-up call and remind us that our time is limited. This is an opportunity to make the most of each and every day. Grief can't be solved by avoiding it. We may want to. We might try really hard to avoid those feelings by staying really busy. Retail therapy, it only provides a short-term distraction. It might be fun in the moment, right? But it's only short-term. Cleaning our home to stay busy is only a short-term fix. And using food, alcohol, and exercise in a negative way as a distractor just to stay busy can also have a negative impact on our grief journey. We can't continue to stuff our grief into an overhead compartment without something falling on our head sooner or later. You'll find that your grief will be waiting for you and your sadness will get your full attention eventually. Grief can help us to refocus. Use grief as a time of reflection. Are we spending our time in the best manner for ourselves? How are we using each minute, each hour of each day? Have you ever thought about that? Life doesn't stop, right? After a tragedy, life continues, and 99.999% of the people on the planet are unaffected by our individual grief. Everything keeps moving forward. Our life must continue too. We can move on knowing that things can't get worse. You may have had the worst experience you've ever had, or maybe it's just one of the worst experiences that you've ever had. There's a certain relief in that knowledge, and everything can seem easy by comparison after you successfully dealt with grief. But bitterness can creep in, and that only creates more pain. Some of us tend to be bitter regardless of the occasion, and grief highlights the fact that bitterness isn't a viable strategy for dealing with life. In fact, it can be downright exhausting. Working through our grief can facilitate a less bitter view of life, and we can overcome. Your life will eventually work through and recover through your losses if you're willing to put in the work. It's surprising how good things can be after enough time has passed. Now, the misconception of time heals all wounds is absolutely false. However, we can approach the future with the knowledge that we can handle situations that life has in store for us, and we can be stronger than we have ever been before. We can become less small-minded during this process. After dealing with great heartache, it's not easy to be petty any longer. The small things, they become even smaller. The important things become more important. And grief can be a blessing in this regard. I know it sounds strange, right? But your life has the potential to become richer in the future. Grief gives you an opportunity to reevaluate your life and refocus. Turn to your friends and family during those difficult times and seek someone that you trust to share your thoughts and feelings with as you embark on those small steps forward. One of the things that we see right now in society is with the economy taking a nosedive, many people are landing in the unemployment line. If you've suffered the loss of your job, it can be disheartening, right? However, this is your opportunity to discover that there are specific actions that you can take to cope with this challenge and get back on your feet. Keep in mind, while it's certainly distressing to lose your job, it has the potential to bring you an exciting new beginning. The right attitude can help you immensely in seeing this hardship through. So let's talk about some things that we can do to minimize the damage and come out stronger for it. So we can openly discuss our job loss with our spouses or our significant others. Since this affects both of you, make sure that you make plans together and agree and be on the same page of implementing changes within your household budget and your household in general to lessen that impact. Develop a newfound optimism about this opportunity you've been given. You can offer positive thoughts to reinforce to you and your family that you are putting your best foot forward. Positive thinking can make a huge difference on how quickly you find the right job. Enthusiasm will impress prospective employers much more than if you sink into a negative outlook and then carry that with you unintentionally into an interview. We don't want to do that. We want to put our best foot forward. And talk about your unemployment with your kids too. Your children should know that times are maybe a little tougher right now and that you may need to cut back on some things, especially spending, but reassure them that you are there to have that open and honest conversation and use age-appropriate information so that you don't add stress to them or scare them at the same time. Consider all the options. Many times in life, what initially appears to be negative, it can end up being a blessing in disguise. And losing your job is no exception. Perhaps you weren't completely happy with the job that you were in, but you were hesitant to leave it. Now that the decision has been made for you, you finally have the opportunity to try out a new profession or join a new organization. The possibilities are endless. You can even use a layoff as an opportunity to explore a new career field, maybe earn a certification, or even try remote work online. You can find success in the face of adversity. This positively way of thinking and working hard, don't be surprised if you come out of this entire experience better off than you were before. So let's look at that acceptance. As difficult as it may sound to you right now, you'll need to take your very best shot at accepting that something has happened to cause you grief. Bear in mind that acceptance doesn't have to mean being nonchalant about the pain and the hurt, because those are very real. Instead, tell yourself that it has already happened and it is in the past. You haven't been given the power to change things that have already occurred, but you can certainly change how you deal with the challenge going forward. So dig deep within and find that strength to move forward. Seek the help of someone disconnected from your circumstance and be open to their approach, their point of view, or maybe you just need that listening ear. It's important to spend time doing things that bring relaxation and eliminate stress so you're able to cope as well as you can in the days ahead. Spend some quiet time journaling so you can have a relaxed heart and mind. Exercise can be a great way to encourage your body to release endorphins that lift your mood and help you feel better. Forgive yourself for whatever responsibility you've assumed for the outcome of the situation that you're in. And show thanksgiving, especially during a time of grief. Spend some time reflecting on all the blessings that have crossed your path. If you commit to putting aside your feelings for a moment, you realize just how much you truly have to be thankful for. Sometimes the blessings far outweigh the tragedies without us even knowing it. Make a list of all those positives that you've witnessed in your life and in the lives of your loved ones. Meditate or pray on those blessings and allow them to really become part of your thought process. Try to identify the lesson in the midst of what you're experiencing and be thankful for it. Finding peace in the midst of grief will be difficult at the beginning, and there are no rules for how long you should take to heal. However, remember that there's a season for everything. Your feelings of hurt and pain have no plans to last forever. As you practice these strategies and begin to heal, you can find that return to joy. I want to thank you for joining me today and allowing me to be a part of your grief journey. And I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.